Welp, that might be it. The toughest moment of the D-backs season. And where's Derek Montilla? Nowhere to be found. Welcome on in to the PHNX D-backs show. I am your host, Damon Fairall, Damon Dog, of course, with my guy, Kevin Thomas, as always, my right-hand man on the ones and twos. And, folks, we lost a heartbreaker tonight. The Arizona Diamondbacks lose 6-5 to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, of Orange County, of, the greater California area. And of course, it was a heartbreaker. It was an absolute heartbreaker. If you are here in the chat, ready to hang out with us on this Friday night post-game L edition, God help your soul. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. I, of course, mention off the top, no Derek Montilla. He's sipping on a margarita or some sort of rum drink on a beach in Puerto Rico. But I do have my guy, Jesse Friedman, with me here, ready to go, live from Texas, where me and Kevin just got back from, at a conference that he is attending, and braving the elements of a very, very late night Jesse Friedman.
I think Derek got out like just in time, right? I mean, he clearly sensed that this team was about to kind of crash and burn, and he was like, all right, this is the time that I need to go back to Puerto Rico and visit my homeland and reconsider my life. It's not over officially, Damon. Anything along those lines, I'm going to declare that a little bit hyperbolic even now. But the Diamondbacks are also 6 games out of the wild card, and things are certainly not looking good for them at this point.
Yeah, this was a devastating one, and definitely feels like one that may carry some weight moving forward when you're talking about what this team could be doing in the foreseeable future. Jay Cuddy says it. Derek knew. Ryan H says Derek is petting iguanas. Jesse, I think that you're 100% right. Derek timed this up. He did this on purpose, and everybody blamed Derek. Hashtag blame Derek. I think we're back.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a refrain on the PHNX D-backs podcast for a number of years now. You really can't go wrong going in that direction. I do see a hashtag blame Jesse Friedman in the chat, which I'm going to try my best to ignore. I know my track record being a guest on post-game shows around here is not exactly the best. But you know what, Damon, at the end of the day, you're watching this game and you're seeing a team in theoretically a postseason chase, at least doing their best to try to get themselves in the mix. And just watching the names coming out of this bullpen is a little bit startling. I mean, and it's not to say that Anthony DeSclafani pitched poorly in this game. He actually was very, very good and is a big reason the Diamondbacks stayed afloat in this game. But if you had told anyone a few months ago that in the 8th inning of a really close game where you've actually gotten some decent length out of your starters recently, you're pitching Anthony DeSclafani in the 8th inning,
Yeah.
like that's not exactly where you want to be. And again, DeSclafani, to his credit, actually was really good in this game. He is by no means the reason the Diamondbacks lost, far from it. But obviously a tough moment there for Kyle Backus in the 9th inning, and another game where the Diamondbacks just all around did not pitch particularly well. And of course that started with Ryne Nelson just not having the kind of outing that we're used to seeing from him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're in a difficult place as Diamondbacks fans right now, because ultimately when anything goes wrong, like the way that this team has been playing recently, especially along this stretch, right? Because it felt like the Diamondbacks escaped their really difficult stretch of the season being at 500. And then they opened up an easier stretch of their season in this last month or so. And you wanted them to take big advantage of playing the Rockies and the White Sox and the Marlins and the Royals and all these teams. And what do? They seemingly play worse baseball almost once they hit that easier part of their schedule. And that falls, for many people, that falls on the manager, and it's a trickle down effect, right? And I'm always a defend Torey guy. I'm always I don't like to do the whole let's question every single move, but I'll be honest, man. Some of these ones were a little bit puzzling to me. I mean, you hear the broadcast talking about it. I don't know necessarily. I didn't look into exactly what arms were fresh and whatnot in the bullpen, but I do know, as you stated, there has been some length out of this starting pitching recently for this team. Kyle Backus, going up against a bunch of right-handers, some of the better hitters in that Angels lineup. DeSclafani, as you mentioned, wasn't the reason the Diamondbacks lost tonight, but him pitching 60 pitches is pretty crazy to me. And he did allow a few base runners here and there. And then, it was just, I honestly, you don't pinch run for Cattell, as Sean points out in the chat here. It was just a lot of puzzling decisions, and I feel like a culmination of a lot of puzzling decisions recently. What did you see from the bullpen decisions tonight from Torey Lovullo?
I mean, I think there are certainly days with this team where you could wonder about Torey's bullpen usage, and I there have certainly been decisions he's made this year that I haven't agreed with, that I just didn't really think made sense. I'm not sure that today is a day where I would go in that direction. I mean, DeSclafani pitched 3 scoreless innings. He put up 3 zeros. I mean, Kendall Graveman just off the injured list. He gave up a run, but I mean, he's theoretically someone that you have some trust in. Like, this is a guy the Diamondbacks signed going into the year, hoping that he'd at least be able to fill a low leverage role, and maybe even more than that, given the volume of injuries that this team has taken on. And Kyle Backus has pitched really well
Yeah,
for this
he has.
team this season as well. And like someone like Luis Rengifo, he's a switch hitter who actually has been worse against lefties than righties. And of course, they pinch hit, brought in Kevin Newman to get the advantage there before that. So, I don't really have a ton of criticism for Torey Lovullo's bullpen management tonight. I think ultimately the Diamondbacks just kind of, I don't want to say they lost because of Ryne Nelson, but this obviously was a pretty rough outing from him. He didn't set them up for success, only being able to cover 4 innings, and the offense had some opportunities and just wasn't quite able to do enough.
Yeah. This game felt like a big game of just missed opportunities, really, for me at the end of the day. Unfortunately, two of these big missed opportunities in a way kind of revolve around my sweet Geraldo Perdomo, where, if he has 5 more feet on that fly
Mm.
ball, that fly out to left or to right center field that he hit in that top of that 9th inning, this is an entirely different ball game, right? If Logan O'Hoppe gets called out on that steal attempt, which was a very, very confusing situation, this is a completely different ball game. And it really feels like I know that's how I'm sure a lot of losing baseball teams talk about their seasons, right? But it really feels like everything is going against this team right now. You go back to that Padres game where there's 2 robbed home runs and you lose 1-0 with Merrill Kelly throwing a gem. It just, I can't help but just feel like that this has been such a just demoralizing couple of weeks here for Diamondbacks fans. And I think that's where it comes in of is this truly it for this team? Is it done? Is this the end of the season? Because not only are they losing games right now, but they are losing games in tragic, tragic fashion.
Damon, my hard-hitting analysis on this is that sometimes, some years, the baseball gods are just against you, and there's just
Yes.
nothing that you can really do to overcome them. They're vicious beasts. It's not easy to change their minds, and that's kind of what it's felt like at times
Yeah.
this year for this team. You mentioned the other day where Merrill Kelly just throws an absolute gem and you lose because the Padres somehow robbed 2 home runs, something that I was actually at the game that night and talking to people after it, no one on the Padres side or the Diamondbacks side had ever seen anything like that before. Like the odds of having two home run balls that you even can rob in one game is very unlikely. Most home runs are not, kind of right there in that tweener zone where you could actually try something like that. So it's moments like that. It's that moment during the game today, I believe it was the fifth inning, where Logan O'Hoppe appeared to be out at second base, but Geraldo Perdomo was called for blocking his path to the base. It's a newer rule that MLB has introduced here in the last few years, and I think there's a little bit of gray area there. Perdomo, of course, did not seem to be happy with that call. It's a little bit hard to assess, like, was he just there because the ball led him there, or was he occupying that space sooner than he had to? It's not reviewable, so the Diamondbacks couldn't really do anything about it. But yeah, those are the kinds of situations that it has felt like, just anecdotally, have kind of been going against this team for most of this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just been, you say the baseball gods, but it really truly does feel that way sometimes. And that's baseball, right? Like that's a couple bounces change the course of an entire season. But another, aspect of this entire season, if we're truly going to talk about and dissect what's really been going on, the Diamondbacks have had 31 different pitchers so far this year. Not to say that the Angels have some stud pitching staff on the other end, but they read a stat on the broadcast tonight that the Angels are only the third team in MLB history to have all 5 of their starters that they had on opening day still be their 5 starters by the All-Star break. Literally, my mind is blown. I didn't know that was possible. I definitely didn't know that was a thing that was happening this year. And my God, could you imagine? Could you imagine if that was the position that the Diamondbacks were in, how different that this season could possibly look?
Yeah, it is a pretty startling thought. I mean, it's also telling that the Angels are still a couple games below 500, even though I mean, I guess they've had some injuries on the position player side, but they've made out certainly better than the Diamondbacks have this year. And yeah, I mean, it just is one of those things where some years you're gonna have good injury luck, frankly, and the Diamondbacks have had that at times. Like 2023, there were injuries, but by and large, the most important players on that team stayed healthy, right? I mean, namely Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly both pitched the entire season that year and were very effective, and their key position players stayed pretty healthy that year as well. It's so important. And I know that teams and players don't ever want to use injuries as an excuse, and I think we all can appreciate that. But at the end of the day, it has an outsized impact on your season, and everyone goes through some injuries. You're certainly not going to expect nothing, but what the Diamondbacks have gone through this year, I mean, that number of 31 pitchers that they've used before the All-Star break is just absurd. And it's the reason that Anthony DeSclafani is having to throw 3 innings in the middle of a close game like this. It's the reason that the Diamondbacks have multiple long relief types in the bullpen currently, and the back end of the bullpen is completely not well defined at all. And of course, Corbin Burns is probably the best pitcher on this team, and we haven't seen him for more than a month now.
Yeah. Sean makes a funny comment here in the chat. Says, Damon, can you have Kevin mute your mic so that you can rage with obscenities? It's funny you mentioned that, Sean, because I said to Kevin right before we went live here, we were sitting, I was getting some of the stuff ready to go. And I said to Kevin, it's times like this that makes me sick that I can't just go on a absolute curse word tirade on our post game show, because I am not happy right now. And it's been a long day, and the D-backs kept me up later, and then they freaking lost to a not good baseball team. Long week. Good point. And I am definitely not happy right now. So, Sean, you have no idea how bad I want that, brother. Maybe we will do that at some point of the show. But yeah, we will get that out later in the show, because I'm going to need that a little bit later. I think that for right now, I'm going to try to stay as on track as I possibly can, just because, I don't know how much more I got in me, brother. I gotta give you, 40 minutes of just good, solid, straight line, Diamondbacks post game show. and then we'll get into the craziness in the later aspects of the show. But getting back to this game, one of the notable performances that we absolutely have to talk about is Randal Grichuk, who of course has been seeing a lot more playing time with Pavin Smith on the mend, and it's seemingly been for the better, I guess. Or I mean, maybe not the right way of saying it, but Randal Grichuk has been definitely performing and has his best game in a while tonight. I guess just what do you see from Randal Grichuk, and do you think that this is a guy that can help this team kind of get out of this funk?
It's been a really weird year for Grichuk in that, last season he actually was pretty good against righties. And so some people were wondering, like, oh, maybe we should be giving Randal Grichuk more of a full-time role. And then this year, the Diamondbacks bring him back for essentially the same role that he had last year, where you figure he's really just going to play against lefties the majority of the time. And this year, he's been better against righties than lefties, actually, to the point where he hasn't been good against lefties at all. Coming into this game tonight, Grichuk had a 658 OPS against lefties, which is a pretty big problem when this is supposed to be like one of your, this is a guy who's had a 900 OPS against lefties for several years in a row at this point. So it was really good to see Grichuk kind of bounce back in that way, hit 2 home runs against left-handed pitchers, of course, and Tyler Anderson and Reed Detmers. He's a really important part of this team with a left-handed pitcher on the mound, and the Diamondbacks have started to see more of those all of a sudden. It felt like they went quite some time without like ever seeing a lefty, but now they're starting to see them more often, and that coupled with the Pavin Smith injury, as you mentioned, means that Randal Grichuk is getting a whole lot more playing time, and he's struggled lately, but maybe this is the kind of a turning point in his season.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there definitely was a time where it felt like that they played, 25 starters in a row. And I think that might just be my Pavin Smith, very like-minded brain or oriented brain, I guess I should say, that was feeling that way. But I love to see a little bit more Randal Grichuk in the lineup. And before we go any further, I do want to say that this show is brought to you by our presenting sponsors, which are Bet365 and Game Time. Download the Bet365 app today and use promo code PHNX365 when you sign up, and get $20 off your first purchase on Game Time with code PHNX when using that app as well. I used Game Time when I went to Petco Park, Jesse, last week on Sunday, the house that Jesse Friedman built, now that you're out there in San Diego.
You were at Petco Park on Sunday and you didn't tell me, Damon? I'm kind of offended.
I should have hit you up. You know what, Jesse? Honestly, it's kind of an adjustment period for me that you even live there now. Like, I just, it's forever in my heart. I'm like, Jesse Friedman lives at his townhouse in North Scottsdale, and I'll go over there whenever I need to see him, and I'll walk into his living room and he'll have pizza in there for your boy. But no, it's sadly that is not the case anymore. Although I am happy for you, because that city rocks, man. I can't get over how much I love San Diego. Every time I go, all I can think about is, I think I could do it. I think I could just live here. I think I could do it. And then I drive back home to Arizona every time. As most of us do. But excited for you, my man. We will talk more about this game and about the pitching performances that we saw tonight. We'll do that right after the break here on the PHNX D-backs show. But first, I want to talk about Branded Bills. Branded Bills, the absolute premium headwear of not just the Valley, anywhere, because they are going worldwide, everybody. I was out at Big 12 Media Day. I saw an Oklahoma State retro logo Branded Bills hat, and I shouted out the guy wearing it. I said, "That is a snazzy looking Branded Bills hat there, my guy." And we then went on to speak and talk about partnerships and all this kind of stuff. I told him that Branded Bills was a sponsor of ours, and he said, "Man, do I love a good Branded Bills hat." And I said, "Boy, do I love the same." They're the most comfortable hats I own. The campus collection is unbelievable stuff. You got all your Arizona Wildcats, Arizona State Sun Devils, Grand Canyon, NAU, you name it, man. Tennessee, all the SEC schools, all on Branded Bills as a part of their campus collection. And if you use our promo code of BBPHNX, you will get 15% off your first order. So head to brandonbills.com and use that promo code of BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. Another fine sponsor of ours that we would love to let you guys talk about today, or let you guys hear about today, is Shady Rays, because Shady Rays has the absolute best process for buying sunglasses in the business. They have their protection policy plan that is going to make sure that if you lose your sunglasses, if you break your sunglasses, you can just hit up their support team and they're going to send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. It's that simple. Have you ever heard of anything like that? Kevin, I know that you and I are the kings of breaking and losing sunglasses. So a protection policy, a lost and broken protection policy like they have at Shady Rays is something that you can't turn your nose up at.
I mean, I'm just on this planet losing things until I eventually lose my life. And so I appreciate companies that actually, don't punish me for just being human and making mistakes like Shady Rays. They just want you to enjoy their wonderful, wonderful eyewear. So yeah, check out Shady Rays. You can't get a more reliable sunglass eyewear company in the whole game, Damon.
We're getting existential here on the PHNX D-backs show. But one thing that I always think about is like, I want to go places and I'm like, hey, I want to wear my sunglasses and look cool. But you can't do that, Kevin, if you're going to lose your sunglasses when you're trying to look cool in the process. That's not cool. What is cool is having Shady Rays so that you don't have to worry about that at all. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code PHNX30 for 35% off your polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Well, Jesse, Ryne Nelson has been unbelievable as of late, right? And it's been a stretch where he's really been the Diamondbacks ace, kind of dating back to really the latter portions of last season, right? Where he was pitching, pretty unbelievably and very unexpectedly, I would argue as well. But, after his 1 earned run performance against the Royals in 7 innings, 6 2/3 with 2 earned against the Giants, 5 innings pitched with 1 earned against the White Sox, 5 2/3 with 1 earned against the Blue Jays. I mean, he had been on a nice stretch there of really, really good outings. Ended up giving up 4 in the first inning of this one. Looked like it was going to be a disaster. Then he settles in a little bit more and ends up pitching a pretty solid game, all things considered, with the way that first inning went. What did you see from Ryne Nelson tonight?
He really was on quite a run coming into tonight, as you said. I mean, I think it's a 1.53 ERA over his last 5 starts, which is just unbelievable the way he's been pitching lately. And then, after giving up 4 earned runs in his last 3 starts combined, he gives up 4 earned runs in the first inning tonight. And it was a pretty rough frame for him. His pitch count was up over 30. He was really laboring. It felt like the fastball is just such an important pitch for Ryne Nelson, and his command of that pitch was not quite what we're used to seeing. He made several big mistakes right over the middle of the plate. And even though that pitch has some good life on it, it is going to get hit every once in a while if he leaves it right in the middle of the zone. And then he also just was not able to get the swing and miss up in the zone with the fastball that we're used to seeing. There was not a lot of chase really on any of his pitches tonight. And then you look at some of his secondary pitches, he didn't get a whiff on anything other than a 4-seamer and a cutter. And he doesn't need a ton of whiffs on those pitches, but he wasn't really getting much value out of any of them at all. And when the fastball command isn't there, the whole thing just doesn't really function right for someone like Ryne Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point, right? And I don't mean to put you on the spot necessarily, because I know that if you had the complete and utter answer to this, you'd probably be working for a Major League Baseball team getting paid, millions of dollars. But what do you think happens from, a stretch like that for Ryne Nelson, where his fastball is so effective and it is getting that swing and miss, and he is locating it up in the zone the way that he wants to a performance like tonight where it kind of just falls off immediately? Like, do the Angels just have the right game plan and know what's coming? Because that's the part that I guess is confusing to me. Everybody kind of knows what's coming with Ryne Nelson. It's not necessarily a secret. He's not one of these pitchers that has a massive arsenal that goes out there and, you really could see a bunch of different types of pitches. Like, you know you're getting that fastball, you know you're getting it up in the zone. What could be a differentiator from having a good 5-6 game stretch like he did to struggling in the first inning like he did tonight?
It's hard to say for sure. I'm not sure. I'm curious what Ryne Nelson himself would say was maybe the difference for him. Maybe there's something mechanical that didn't feel right in this game. That's unfortunately a little bit above my pay grade. I can say though that you just look at the very first batter of the game, and I think it kind of tells the story. Ryne Nelson's first pitch tonight was a fastball that was like a foot outside. I mean, it wasn't even remotely close. And then his second pitch of the game was a fastball that was right down the middle. And Zach Neto, made it look fairly effortless, just hitting a solo home run to get the scoring started for the Angels. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think any major league pitcher, no matter how good they are, you're not going to have your A+ command all the time. And for Ryne Nelson, the difference between him having that top level command that he has recently and having subpar command is enormous, because he's so dependent on the fastball that there just isn't, a lot of other great pitchers in the league. They have other ways to get you out. Like, all right, if this pitch isn't working, let me see if this pitch is working for me. Ryne Nelson doesn't really have that. And so if his normally excellent fastball command isn't there, it's like, well, this might just kind of be a rough one. And to his credit, he hung in there and was able to put up a few zeros after that rough first inning, but he obviously didn't pitch very deep into the game.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't his, greatest performance tonight, but you do see the bullpen kind of get in there and step up a little bit. They give up 2 runs, but it's just another game where this offense puts up a decent amount of production, and the Diamondbacks end up getting the loss anyways. And it feels like the story of this season, feels like the story of last season, feels like the story of this franchise at times when it comes to the pitching side of things and the inability to truly develop that side of baseball and have those prospects in your organization. But yeah, I mean, Ryne Nelson, you're going to need him. Like the room for error when it comes to Ryne Nelson is unfortunately, like, I know that this is a crazy place to be before the All-Star break, even with the Corbin Burnes signing that, we were all so hyped about. Like, imagine if I told you, man, like, Ryne Nelson can't afford for him to have bad games if this team wants to pick things up. And it's like, maybe you're just not a very good baseball team, right? And it kind of feels that way right now where, it was in 2023 at times where it was like every time Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly walk out onto the mound, you have to win that baseball game. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because then you got to find a way to win one of the next 3 with any of the other, 3 pitchers that you happen to throw out there on any given night. And they're back in that same mold right now. It's you got Ryne Nelson, hopefully not pitching like he did tonight, more like he did in the stretch prior to this. Zach Gallen hopefully figured some things out with James McCann and just a little bit of getting ready for the season, and then Merrill Kelly has been kind of the mainstay that he really always is for the majority of this season. But you need those 3 guys to be the horses that get you to being a back to a relevant, competent, and potentially a postseason baseball team. Jesse, I do want to ask you about whether or not this team should buy, should sell, what you think currently is the Diamondbacks season over? Is this team dead? We'll get into that right after the break here on the PHNX D-backs show. But before we do, let's talk about some good things in the world. And that's going to start off with our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. They've been Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes for a few years now, and it is for good reason. When you guys sign up today for a free checking account, DFCU is going to give you $200, like around the Monopoly board, just for signing up. It's that simple. It's literally like going around the go. And they give you $200. Of course, I'm an Arizona Wildcats guy through and through. But if you are an Arizona State Sun Devils fan, they have some really, really nice looking cards over at Desert Financial Credit Union that you can be a part of. They also have great Arizona Cardinals cards as well for all your Valley sports fans, and NAU cards. I heard the other day, Kevin, they have NAU cards too. So, Desert Financial Credit Union is they're big fans of the teams here in the Valley, and we love them for it. Our guy Eric Ruby has been a member for over 3 generations of his family. Our guy Derek Montilla has always and often said that he would not be in his home today if it wasn't for his approval he received from Desert Financial Credit Union. We thank them for that. We thank them for being a staple of this Valley. And, now we also appreciate them for being the #1 credit union named by Forbes for a few years running here. So shout out Desert Financial Credit Union. Sign up and get that $200 free today.
Desert Financial Credit Union, it's in the family.
It's in the family. That is such a good damn point, Kevin. But also, let's talk about APS. It's the heat of the summer, guys. And you know what that means? It's time to get your electrical under control, right? Because we all know how much these AC bills go up when it comes to summer in Arizona, and that's why APS is here to help. They have their smart thermostats that start as low as $0. See if you qualify for installation, and it could save you so much money. A smart thermostat rate works with your APS rate plan and helps you automatically adjust the temperature in your home. They also have off hours where, of course, you can, on your phone, on the app, because it is a smart thermostat, you can fix and turn down, turn up your AC when you are not home on the off hours to save as much money as possible. It's the smart choice. It's the smart thermostat. Right now, APS customers may be eligible for smart thermostats for as low as $0 when you enroll the APS Cool Rewards program. If you already have a smart thermostat at home, see if it's eligible to enroll in Cool Rewards, plus free install is available at marketplace.aps.com. And Kevin, I actually made a mistake here on our ads. We do have one more that we have to hit here. It's our friends at Monarch Money. I know that I am a big spender when it comes to all sorts of small trivial things, whether it be clothing or going to concerts or a Padres game, for example. But I could really use myself a subscription from Monarch Money. We got a promo code for you. It's PHNX that you'll use at monarchmoney.com. And it's going to help you save. It's going to be an app that tracks your subscriptions, tracks your unwanted, unnecessary spending, and helps you get your budget on the right track. It's not your average budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. And start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners over here at PHNX Sports. If I had Monarch Money, which I should get on Monarch Money, I'm sure I would have so much more money, because I am, as I said, a way too big of a spender than I should be. And that's why Monarch Money is here to help, right? So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHNX. Before we get into whether or not the Diamondbacks should be buyers, should be sellers, and whether or not the season is dead, let's talk about the numbers from tonight's game and really just get an encapsulation of what and how close this game was, all things considered. I actually screwed up the expected batting average here. It's not supposed to say 299 for the D-backs. It's supposed to say 298 for the D-backs. So it's actually a thousandth of a point off from the Angels' expected batting average. The Angels out-hit the Diamondbacks by 1. Runners in scoring position was the same average at 250 for both teams, but the Angels got one more hit at 3 for 12. The same amount of expected batting or extra base hits. And then, as I said, with the expected batting average, Diamondbacks at 298 and the Angels at 299. Angels, of course, get a one-run victory in the process. Jesse, have you seen a by the numbers that has been that neck and neck, I should say?
That's about as neck and neck as they get, Damon. It doesn't get much more equal than that. I do think it's worth noting that the Diamondbacks walked 8 Angels in this game, and the Diamondbacks had just 2 walks. So both teams had a decent amount of traffic on the bases, but the Angels had an absurd amount of traffic on the bases in this game. I mean, that's 20 base runners across the 9 innings of offense for them. And it's just tough to win that way. I mean, the Diamondbacks were able to make some big pitches at times and work out of some of those situations. I think the Angels ended with 14 guys left on base, but at a certain point, it's just going to be hard to keep all those guys, to strand all those base runners. And obviously,
Yeah.
we saw in the ninth inning, Kyle Backus was unable to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you see it with even Anthony Discalfani, who you mentioned pitching pretty decent, in his 3 innings of work. He walks a couple batters. Ryne Nelson walks 4. Kendall Graveman walks 2. I mean, it's you did walk too many guys tonight, and if you're going to be even from an actual hitting the baseball standpoint, that's going to be the big differentiator there. And the Angels just had more people on the base paths when they were getting these hits because they were getting a lot more walks. And also part of that is Mike Trout as well. I will say, you intentionally walk Mike Trout and pitch around him consistently. Like that's going to lead to a lot more walks, but that's why the Angels have a guy like Mike Trout on their team is in the middle of their lineup so that, you have to avoid a guy like that and pitch to, a player such as Taylor Ward, who, is one of the league leaders in home runs right now at 21 bombs, hitting right behind Mike Trout. So that's baseball as well. I know I keep saying that, but another aspect of baseball is whether or not you're going to be a buyer or seller at the deadline. And with the way that the National League is looking right now, how smart would it be for the Diamondbacks to, go out there and actually give up resources to bring in more pieces when this team is kind of on the outside looking in when it comes to even qualifying for the playoffs?
I think maybe there could be a scenario where bringing in pieces to help you now could still make sense. But I think bringing in pieces to help you in 2025 only, like those rental pieces, that's a bit of a tough sell right now. I mean, the Diamondbacks are 6 games out at this point. Both obviously, well, I guess not obviously, both the Padres and the Giants won tonight, which is not great for the Diamondbacks. So they're 6 games out at this point. They entered today with, I think, a 15% chance to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs, for however much stock you want to put in those numbers. That number is presumably, gotten much lower probably after everything that happened today. So I don't think you can go into the deadline looking to, at least with the way things look right now, barring some significant change here in the next couple of weeks. But I do think it's possible that this team could look to do a combination and sell, where maybe there are some pieces all through 2026 or 27 or 28. I still think the D-backs could look at that. But it's, as far as what they would do with their rental pieces, I think selling those off probably makes a lot of sense given where they are right now.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think about a baseball season, right? And you see the D-backs are 46 and 49, and we talk about this stretch against maybe a little bit more easy opponents on paper, the Marlins, the Royals, whatnot, and you lose those series. But imagine if they had won this game tonight, was obviously extremely winnable. They win that Padres game, to that where they got robbed of the home runs. And then they win that Giants game where I believe, they lost that one in extras as well in that series where they could have gone up, I believe, 3-0 on the Giants there. I mean, all of a sudden you're 49 and 46. You're 2 games back from the San Diego Padres, who are a half game out of the wild card. Like that's game changing type of stuff. But this team just continues to find ways to lose these games on the margins consistently. It feels like if the Diamondbacks want to win, it feels like they have to win by 3+ runs, because if it's going to be a close game, it feels like they find a way to lose somehow. And that's the unfortunate part of this season. But you were talking about it a little bit off air. Who are some of the guys that you could see being shipped out potentially with, if this is a season where you're going to end up punting potentially, or maybe not punting is the right word. Like you keep a lot of the majority of the pieces on this team, but you just say, hey, we need to retool a little bit. This guy's probably not going to be someone that we re-sign going into next off season. Like who are these players that you think could find new homes by the time that late July rolls around?
I think the clear ones are all the guys who are on expiring contracts. So Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez, Randal Grichuk. There's a mutual option, although those don't normally get picked up. You could probably put him in that category as well. I think any of those guys could make a lot of sense and would be attractive to other teams. It was interesting to me this morning. Ken Rosenthal came out with a report that the Diamondbacks likely will not trade both Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, just that they don't have the young pitching to step in and take over those rotation spots, which is true. I mean, I'm frankly not sure they have the pitching to fill one of those rotation spots.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Bryce Jarvis slides into a starter's role. Maybe Anthony DeSclafani slides into a starter's role. It probably wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be ideal, whatever it was. So,
What happened to
yeah,
us, man? What happened to us? Remember when we were like, Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, Erod. How could you beat this squad? And now we're like,
yeah,
is Human Lin ready? Can he be called up?
yeah. I mean, it's tough because so many. I mean, they did have at least a decent amount of starting pitching depth on paper going into the season, but it's not just that you've lost Corbin Burns and Jordan Montgomery and are thinking about trading off some of these other guys. It's that Christian Mana is hurt and likely out for the season. And Tommy Henry just had the brace procedure, is going to be out till at least the middle of next year. Dre Jameson's situation is hard to know what's going on there at this point. So yeah, I mean, their line of defense, like all of those next guys that you would envision taking over, none of those guys are really available. And someone like Gilbert Diaz that you maybe had high hopes for this year has just had a really rough season. So it's tough. I'm not sure I totally understand the thinking of like, we don't want to trade both of these guys because we don't have the pitching to fill the spot. Like I understand it because it would be, you might rack up a lot of losses, frankly, by doing that. But I mean, if you're selling, then you're selling and you're probably just not going to do very well the rest of the way. I think maybe this speaks to Mike Hazen and the fact that he hasn't really committed to like a substantive sell at any point during his tenure. Like even in 2021, the Diamondbacks going into that year were trying to compete, and they have sold off some pieces at times, but they've never really sold off anything super major other than I guess Zach Greinke, back in 2019, and that was contract motivated. They wanted to get off some of that money. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I think it's very hard for Mike Hazen to with all the investments that have been made with this team to kind of punt. And I think that's what it would be, frankly, if you were to trade both a Zach Gallen and a Merrill Kelly. On the other hand, it's like, well, why just trade one and not the other? Like if you're going to kind of half-heartedly give up on the year, maybe you should just get all of the assets that you can. So I can kind of see both sides of that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it just is as simple as the fact of, we think we can bring Merrill Kelly back in the offseason at a reasonable number.
Sure.
And, that's we care more about this team being good next season than we do about getting maybe a middling prospect back for a half year of Merrill Kelly or whatever. But I do think, you could certainly make an argument either way when it comes to that. I guess from my perspective, and I know a lot of people love to do the, Torey is the worst person alive, but Mike Hazen is the greatest GM in baseball history route, even though these guys are best friends in lockstep together and both the faces of this organization. But I got to say, I am not particularly happy with Mike Hazen and his bullpen building that he did this season going into the year. But as an extension of that, if you truly believed in this team and believe in this offense that is, borderline an elite offense, really, and was last season the best offense in baseball, how do you not invest into the bullpen when you see the arms that we're throwing out here at certain points of this season? If this team had two more competent bullpen arms that Mike Hazen got a month ago, what is the record right now? There's no telling, right? And that's where, like, I'm going to be upset. Like, I'm okay with them selling off if that's truly what they, at the end of this. But if they're gonna buy, it's like we should have been buying, the White Sox best bullpen arm in May, right? Like that. Realistically, if you truly believe in this team, I know you have to pay a premium for guys that far ahead of the trade deadline, but it's also a reliever from one of the worst teams in baseball. Like I just don't really understand the thought process of like, well, we're gonna pick this guy off the garbage heap and hope that he's decent. Like, no, I think you need to go out there and find some arms if you think that this team can compete.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. I think it is challenging, and it's hard for me to speak to this because I'm not a major league general manager, and very likely never will be. I don't know what these conversations are like, but everything we hear from GMs about trades in May or even in June is that they're just really hard to pull off. And I think it can be easy for us to be like, all right, well, maybe instead of, your number 5 prospect and your number 10 prospect for so and so, like, give them the 4 and the 9 prospect or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can be easy for us to be like, well, surely the other team would be interested in that. My guess is it's not quite that simple because these trades just don't really happen. And I guess the other point we should probably make here is that, say the Diamondbacks did trade for some solid reliever from some other team back in May, would it have been worth it? Like, is this bullpen plus one good reliever actually good enough? This is a conversation we had on my D-backs show Snakes Territory yesterday. If the Diamondbacks had David Bednar, if they went after him and traded for him at some point in the next 2 weeks, would this bullpen be good? And we kind of landed on, I don't think so. I think David Bednar would be great at pitching the 9th inning, but who pitches the 8th? Who pitches the 7th? I mean, you can't build an entire bullpen around one or even probably 2 acquisitions at this point, given how many pieces they're missing. And that's not to discount at the same time what you're saying about Mike Hazen and the fact that maybe from the very beginning of the season, this team should have been better equipped. I think that's a very fair criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it's listen, like as good as Mike Hazen has been for this team, and as much as he's turned around this organization from the depths of hell in which Dave Stewart left us in, building a bullpen has not been an easy task for Mike Hazen in Arizona.
No.
Neither has it been for any GM ever in the history of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So that's not a unique thing to Mike Hazen, but it's just disheartening when you have such a talented roster, or you feel that you have such a talented roster on paper, and you lose all these 7th, 8th, 9th inning games because your bullpen is that of the Reno Aces. You have a genuine minor league caliber bullpen, and that's the part that really really sucks for this fan base and for this team. But Jesse, I guess what would you do if you had your GM hat on and Jesse Friedman was named the new general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks? What would be your plan going into this trade deadline?
Man, well, I think it's a very good thing that is not going to happen because, yeah, I'm very underqualified for the job. But I think if I were just playing pretend here for a second, I think I would see what the market was like for Zach Allen and Merrill Kelly. I think to your point earlier, bringing Merrill Kelly back feels more realistic. This is right. He grew up here, at least for part of his childhood. He has ties to the area. He went to ASU. He seems to really enjoy playing in Arizona. He's already signed an extension here. He's later in his career. He's not going to make a ton of money. I think that could be possible, and I think it could be really helpful for the Diamondbacks next year to fill out. You just kind of need some arms to help fill out that rotation next season. I'm not sure you could do better than Merrill Kelly, given what he will cost and how good of a pitcher he still is. So I think with Merrill, I would be setting the bar pretty high, where
Mm-hmm.
I might be like, let's just keep him. And I know that even if you trade him, you still theoretically can bring him back, but that doesn't happen very often. I think you probably have a better shot at bringing him back if you just keep him in the organization. But yeah, again, if somebody wants to totally overwhelm you, then maybe you would trade both Zach Allen and Merrill Kelly. I think the other thing I would be looking to do is see if I can acquire a controllable starting pitcher who is relatively young. Can I replicate the Jazz Chisholm Zach Gallen trade from 2019, something like that? Unfortunately, those moves are very difficult to pull off. So I think that would be a serious uphill battle. But this team, as you look ahead to 2026, they have two rotation spots to fill, at least two pretty clear rotation spots to fill. And they can't pay $20 million for both of them. I mean, they already are paying Eduardo Rodriguez a lot of money. They're going to pay Corbin Burns, $30+ million, even though we're probably not going to see him for most of next season. So you need to fill out this rotation with some affordable arms if you can. And so I think that's something that I would take a serious look at. But again, it's a lot easier said than done. The other thing, of course, is I would definitely listen to offers for Josh Naylor and Gino Suarez, assuming the D-backs are in a similar position then as they are now. I would be willing to move both of those guys if I could get what I was looking for.
Yeah. The hard part about the deadline is a lot of these guys that are on like the expiring type contracts, they just don't fetch that much as is. And so,
Yes.
you're getting rid of sometimes like really good baseball players like Josh Naylor. And it's like, what is a team trading for a half a year of Josh Naylor if they don't have any indication or maybe like feeling that they're going to even try to extend him in the offseason? So that's the hard part of this. If I'm putting my GM hat on for a second, I've heard some people talk about the idea of trading Merrill Kelly and trying to re-sign him in the offseason. If that's something that he would be interested in, I mean, I don't know how you vet that with him. Like, I guess I'd probably approach it in the way of like, hey, Merrill, you've given a lot to this organization. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be here or do you want to be competing for a World Series the latter half of this season? See what he has to say. And if he says competing for a World Series, then broach the conversation of like, you're a staple of this team. We would love to try to re-sign you. Is that something you'd be interested in the offseason? I don't know how realistic that is, but it's something I'd be interested in. Zach Gallen, I think, yeah. I mean, how much do you weigh the haul you would get versus the qualifying offer, and
Yeah,
the
right.
compensation pick that comes with that if he signs with another team, or do you bring him back at that 1 year, 20-something $million number, because he had a down season, even though he has started to pick it up as of recently. So that's an interesting thing that you'll need to broach with that conversation. But as much as it hurts to say, I think I would probably try to trade Gino because I think this is the most you're ever going to get for him. And you
Yeah.
could get probably a good amount for a guy that is going to hit 40 plus home runs this year. And then I think I would try to trade Zach Gallen for a good size haul. But I think I'm trying to keep Merrill Kelly, and I've long said it, but I'm going to continue to say it. Josh Naylor's 27 years old. I want him on this team. Like I'm, if I'm talking long term, that's a guy who I'm writing in pencil in my starting lineup for the foreseeable future. And baseball players like 27 is like really like the start of your prime almost. Like he's just getting to play like probably the best baseball of his career. And I just think that guy is a really, really good hitter and kind of an infectious personality. And I'm not trying to get rid of a Josh Naylor. Johnny Walker is not happy with me in the way that I'm driving this conversation. I understand I'm not Derek, brother, but I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Derek Montilla sitting in this exact same chair would be having this exact same conversation right now with Jesse Friedman if he was here, because that's the direness of this situation. That's exactly what we just watched tonight with the Los Angeles Angels. But I do want to say shout out you, brother, for your super chats. Kevin, if you wouldn't mind grabbing those real quick. Says go D-backs for $10 and then says forget the trade deadline, forget prospects. Let's win games. I'm with it, man. I've been trying to say that. I've been holding the line more than anybody, I feel like. Kevin, you can attest to this. I've been being like, this is a team that, I believe in. I believe in this offense. I want to supplement this offense with good pitching at the deadline. I want to compete, and I think that this team can go on a run. I don't know how much longer you can hold on to that rope when the team can just consistently is the most mid team of all time.
Yeah, it's I think mid is a pretty good way to describe it. I mean, they just kind of oscillate back and forth from a game or two over 500 to a game or two under 500, and they've won just enough to, I think, keep D-backs fans interested. Like, oh, maybe this could still turn around. But today definitely feels a little different, at least to me, Damon. I mean, 6 games out is just has a different feel to it than 3 or 4,
Yeah.
especially given the number of teams that are between you and that third wild card spot. You're not just looking to make up 6 games on one team. You're having to make up some pretty serious ground on the Giants and the Padres and the Cardinals and the Reds. Assuming you don't catch the Mets or Brewers, which I think is not so likely at this point. So, yeah, the odds are just very clearly stacked against you. And this roster that the team is operating with right now, I just don't know if it's that much better than a 500 roster, frankly. The D-backs at full strength, if Corbin Burns is back and AJ Puck and Justin Martinez and Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks and Ryan Thompson, and we can go down the list. If you get all these guys back, I think it's a pretty talented roster, but those guys aren't coming back, at least not anytime soon. And some of them certainly not the entire season. So at this point, it's hard for me to look at this roster, what it realistically is, and believe that it's like, oh no, like things will turn. You just need this player to get hot or that player to get hot. It's like, I don't know who's going to, you could see Zach Gallen go on a nice run. Absolutely. You could see Brandon Pfaadt kind of turning some things around. Maybe the starting pitching could kind of bounce back as we've seen here recently, but this bullpen is just not a major league caliber bullpen. And again, even if you were to make some moves at the trade deadline, I'm not sure you'd really be able to make that big of a difference there.
Yeah, we're going to round out this conversation here with one last break on the PHNX D-backs Postgame Show. But first, let's talk about Empire Today. I am sitting on some Empire Today hardwood right now, and it is the absolute most beautiful, most pristine, and most shiny hardwood I have ever seen. We have savages in this office, and we would have destroyed this hardwood if it was possible, but that's just the superior product that Empire Today provides, whether it's hardwood, carpet, tile, you name it. They are the experts in flooring. This is what they love. This is what they live for. And this isn't some big box store where flooring is one of the things they do. No, this is what they are all about. So make sure you guys check out their catalog, check out their virtual floor designer. Well, they'll give you a free in-home estimate. They'll show up at your house, use their virtual floor designer to show you exactly what that new flooring will look like in your home before you make a purchase that you regret. It is the best deal in all of flooring, and they are the experts. You can get this done not just in Arizona, but all over the country. So hit up Empire Today and schedule that free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHNX. Yes, you heard that right. $350 off with code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHNX for full details. And of course, All Pro Shade Concepts, another one of our favorite sponsors that we have. Call this number, guys, 623-204-1476. That's going to be the number that you're going to want to write down. We all know how hot it is in the state of Arizona, in the summer in particular. And these awnings, these custom fit shades can save you almost 20 degrees on your patio. And if that's not worth it to you, then you are absolutely insane. Extend that outdoor living space with a custom fit awning with over 100 designs and colors to choose from that can match any home, motorized and retract with a remote control, all with LED lighting to light up your patio under the awning. They keep, as I said, they keep it almost 20 degrees cooler, and they are so sleek looking. Our guy Espo, GM Espo, he got his awning done with All Pro Shade Concepts, his custom fit shade, and it looks pristine. He has a remote control device on it. It is beautiful, tip top shape. They've been in business for over 20 years in the Valley now, making window shades. They started making window shades by hand for friends, and it turned into one of the biggest motorized awning businesses here in the Valley. They're licensed, bonded, and insured. And call 623-204-1476, as I already said, or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free in-home estimate today. Yeah, I mean, I want to get back to this conversation here that we were having for a second, because I do think it's an interesting one. And I feel that, maybe there are some, it's mostly Johnny Walker. He's not too happy with it. The thing is, Johnny, is I was with you, my guy. Like, I'm trying to tell you, I know that you're seeing me here on this show and you're listening to me talk more than I usually talk, because I'm more just kind of the court jester of this program, if you will, where I chime in to make funnies and everyone to point and laugh at me. But I've been on the side of being like, this is a competitive roster. And it's just been hard recently. Kevin, if you wouldn't mind scrolling up, there was a comment I'm forgetting now that I wanted to bring up here. Definitely not happy here. It was the conversation about that Johnny brought up about what record were we last year and the year before at the All-Star break, or not at the All-Star break, but at this point of the season on July 11th. Well, the Diamondbacks were 47-47 last year, Jesse, on July 11th. And they didn't make the playoffs, and they had a better record than they do right now, right? The year before that, the Diamondbacks were 52-39 with a tie for first place with the Los Angeles Dodgers at this point in the season 2 years ago. And they made the playoffs and they made the World Series. I mean, if that doesn't right there encapsulate everything that we're talking about, then, it's like that's what I'm trying to say. Like this is an organization that has consistently only performed when they get off to hot starts. That is a fact. And a lot of times it's in seasons that you don't expect anything. And then you go into the next season after they had one of these surprising seasons where you do have expectations. And what does that lead to? Disappointment in a 500 season. So it's like, I just think that, we have to be realistic about where we are. And last year's team was on paper better at this point than we are right now. And they didn't make playoffs. Granted, it was by a game, and, a thing goes here or there differently. You never know. But it's just like that. That's the reality of where the Diamondbacks are at this point in the season.
I would add that I think it's worth noting that July 11th last year, the Diamondbacks were 47-47, but they were also only one game out of the third wild card, which is a really big difference from this year where they're 6 games out. And I know last year that wound up being a little deceiving. Like last July 11th, the Mets had the third wild card spot at 47-45. They were 2 games over 500 and in the playoff picture. By the end of last year, the Diamondbacks, of course, win 89 games. They still don't make the playoffs. So it wound up that you needed to be substantially better than where the Mets were at that point in order to actually make it. So we don't know really what the threshold is ultimately going to be, but it's hard to imagine it going the other direction this year where, maybe you can make the playoffs with 82 or 83 wins. There's just too many good teams that are in the mix here for me to really buy that. So it's a really different situation. All that to say, if the D-backs are 1 or 2 games out, being a few games under 500, it'd be like, all right, we're not in a great spot, but neither are the teams around us. And there's a path here. But when you're this many games out and you have to climb over 4 teams in order to get where you want to go, mathematically, the odds are very much stacked against you. Not to say it's impossible, but if you're really going to make the decision to trade prospect capital to improve this team, you're going to want to have a little more confidence than I think you would right now.
Yeah. And Jay Cuddy makes a good point. It's not the NL West. It's really just the NL. We can drop the West part of it. It's the West is kind of falling off a little bit. The Padres and the Dodgers are a lot more middle of the pack than they were. They're fighting in the thick of things for wild card spots. The NL Central, which everyone thought was a terrible division, is somehow, has 4 teams that are really good, and Paul Skeens is on the other one. And then you have the NL East, who has the Mets playing good. They were playing good baseball. I'm not familiar with how they're playing right now. I know they went on that horrible skid, but and of course you have the the Braves are bad in the NL East. The Phillies are obviously a good team, but the Braves are behind the Diamondbacks, and that's a roster that is incredibly talented. That's a roster that I think they're probably having similar conversations. Like, what do we do with this team? Because on paper they're good enough to compete, but what they've shown this season, they haven't been good enough to compete. All I have to say is, just to round out this conversation, is Johnny Walker, don't ever accuse me of not wanting to win again. I'm the last person that you want to accuse of that. I'm a crazy person when it comes to wanting to win games for this team and not having loser behavior, as Jesse has been very well aware of me bringing up and being against at all times. I just think that this is you say you can't try to pivot into 2026. I completely disagree with you there, brother. I think that there comes a point where winning in 2026 is your best option. And that's there comes a point where that's what you have to do. This isn't the Dodgers. This isn't the Yankees. This is, like, you're not going to have a payroll that sustains you at the top year in and year out. And when you have a team that just doesn't have it, sometimes you got to switch things up. But Jesse, it was a demoralizing night. It was a tough loss, and it might be TOD on the Arizona Diamondbacks season. That will be figured out in the long run here, but we appreciate you staying up late, braving the elements, if you will, in Texas. What is it, 1 a.m., 1:10 a.m. over there? Got to get you back to bed for your big conference. We got one more super chat to hit real quick. My nips hurt. Nats fan. Jesse, we have a Nats fan in this chat now who watches our program. He's a good guy.
Familiar.
He's a good guy. Me and Derek. Derek used to go back and forth with him during the Nats series. That's how he found the program. Then it started. Derek and him became friends, and now me and my nips hurt kind of get into it from time to time. Good friendly banter. But he sends a $5 super chat. Thank you, my nips hurt. Says Naylor for Josh Bell. Improve your power, and we get a solid backup to Nationals or to Nathaniel Lowe on the Nats. Yeah, man. I guess I don't know how to respond to that. Are the Nats in a buying position? I have no idea. But
hey, Damon, Josh Bell, he was a pretty good trade deadline acquisition for the D-backs a year ago. So there's a track record there. Who's to say?
There certainly is. Piece of Yoshi takes offense to your 1:10 a.m. because I believe he's on East Coast time, potentially in New York as a Mets fan, being like, "Hey man, it's 2 a.m. over here, brother." But yeah, we appreciate everybody for staying up late, including my co-host here on a Friday night. I know this is not the best way to be spending your Friday night talking about a Diamondbacks loss, but we appreciate all of those who did so anyways, rocking with us. Please leave a like on this video. Does us so many favors. We appreciate it. Jesse, make sure that you drink water, as Kevin just put up there on the screen. You can follow my guy Jesse Friedman at Jesse N. Friedman on Twitter, as well as follow all of his work that he's doing with our friend Jack Summers over at Snakes Territory. Just great stuff going on over there at their YouTube channel and on all their social channels. So just check out what they're doing, of course. But Jesse, thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. And we will catch you later on the PHNX D-backs show.
Yeah, hopefully people aren't blaming me for everything quite as much next time. I know my track record here isn't great, but maybe we can change that. Who knows?
Maybe I got too naive, and I thought to myself that my own good juju would outweigh your bad juju, Jesse, and I got a little bit in my own head about it, a little overconfident, and it won't happen again. We won't be doing any more post-game shows, me and you.
Yeah, I think Derek pretty much decided that afternoon shows are the only shows that I'm allowed on. So maybe we should stick to that moving forward.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, my man. Let's get you out of here and have a good night's rest.
We all silly like the mayor.
I don't know what that was. I wasn't trying to end the show. I had to remember kids, brother. Come on, Kevin.
I forgot. I am a kid and I forgot.
Here before.
Well, I'm a kid and you didn't tell me to remember, so I forgot.
We hit him with the wop wop, with the hezzy hey. But before we get out of here, I did want to throw my friend Sean a bone, because I am sick and goddamn tired of losing baseball games in this team. So, Kevin, without further ado, would you please mute my frickin' mic? Very therapeutic. Derek is right about that. it gives you the ability to just kind of really all get it out. Like, I'm sweating now, and it just, I don't know. I mean, I hope it is very therapeutic, but I hope that encapsulated everybody's brains tonight. I know that was the show I wanted to do. That was the show I wanted to give you fine folks. If our friends over at Fast Remote would allow me to do so, that would have just been the regular show. I would have done that for a full hour and Jesse wouldn't have gotten a word in, but appreciate everybody for being here tonight, rocking with us on a Friday. As I said, shout out Jesse Friedman for joining us. Give Jesse a follow, Jesse N. Friedman. Give me a follow at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. Give my guy Kevin a follow at Kevo Post, KEVOPOSTS. And shout out Kevin, by the way, for taking the time out of his Friday night to help us out on this program, making his return to the show, bringing his bad juju back and stank back to this show as well. But we won't need to talk about that. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Follow our main account at PHNX_Dbacks. And we will be back on a Monday at 12 p.m. for a Mailbag Monday, as well as a maybe a lead-in into the All-Star weekend and the All-Star festivities. We'll be talking about all that and more on the PHNX D-backs show. Until next time, remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you're over 500 by the All-Star break and you're not getting walked off in horrific fashion by the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
We all silly like the mayor.